Hey, welcome to New Jump City, everybody, where we recap the week in American and Japanese sequential art. I am your host, Christian, the unbiased king, Espinal. And joining me through Discord, it is the man, the myth, the legend, the tank top sage. It's Joshua Gangsta Time Cole.
It's called Partner, but it should be called Gangsta Time.
What up, Chris? What's good, everybody listening?
Hey. Also joining us, it is our producer, it is Edgelord Big News Brian. Oh yeah, it's a Memorial Day. So yeah, we're coming at you, bringing you an early ep, kind of, sorta. Very excited to be here. And we got a handful of manga to talk about this week. A couple of our regulars are off, but hey, so the show must go on. Let's not waste any time, and let's get into plugs. You can find me at the Chris Espinal on Twitter and Instagram. Joshua Cole, where can they find you?
At JD Cole_37. That's on Instagram, and at New Jump City Josh on Twitter.
Oh yeah, Brian.
You can find me on b.esp on both Instagram and Twitter. And if you ever want to catch me when I'm streaming, you can find me at twitch.tv/itspunchline.
Hell yeah. You could also follow the show itself at New Jump City on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. You can email the show itself at newjumpcitypod@gmail.com with any questions, suggestions, anything you guys want us to talk about. We would love to hear from you guys. Very excited to hear some more questions and all that stuff, so drop it in. Or if you want to communicate with us a little more directly, you could comment underneath the videos that we put up on YouTube. We don't have an exact video component quite yet, but I am still uploading the audio versions of the podcast on YouTube every week, so check us out on there and let us know what you think. And while you're at it, give us a like, share, subscribe to the podcast. That would be super cool. If you prefer audio podcasts anyway, of course you could find us on any podcast platform that you can think of, which is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora. If there's a podcast app out there, we're likely on there. So yeah, check us out on any of those platforms at all. And that's it, right? Without further ado, spoiler alerts ahead. Let us go.
Hold on. Before we get into the lineup, I want to say something. So, like we stated, happy Memorial Day to everybody listening, especially to those, who've lost family members in combat. This day is for y'all, but I want to also, I guess, try to put these into perspective, right? The way I look at Memorial Day is we're mourning the loss of soldiers. And it makes me think about, how different things could be if, if all those people hadn't died, what type of world would we be living in? And we have to constantly keep that in mind that, we had days like this to reflect on the lives lost because of war and how we have to avoid that at all costs. It's not about just mourning American soldiers, soldiers from the other side too, because they're just following orders the same way our guys is just following orders. And it's just a disgusting tragedy when it comes down to violence.
Yeah. That this even has to happen, and that there is a Memorial Day. Technically, it's a sad thing for sure, but it is to reflect and remember everybody that has given their lives for their cause, to protect their homes and all that stuff. We're all like human in that regard, where we can understand that. But yeah, was that it, Josh? Or
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, without further ado, let's get into the show itself.
Tell that pussy clot girl me know what.
Jujutsu Kaisen. One Piece is off, My Hero Academia is off, so Jujutsu Kaisen is opening up our show with chapter 224, Inhuman Makio Shinjuku Showdown Part 2. Last we
You
left,
got that again without
I'm
a hitch.
I'm getting it, dude. I'm down with it. Last we left off, the battle between Sukuna and Gojo, the long-awaited battle, has finally begun. There was an opening salvo shot by Gojo that toppled an entire building, and you know that was basically the gunshot in the air signifying the start of the battle, and yeah, basically we pick up exactly where we left off. Sukuna is like, "I'm the challenger." He's like, "I let you catch me out. You caught me off guard, but don't let it go to your head."
Right, relax, little boy.
Yeah, he said, "You're just a fish on the cutting board. You may flop around a lot, but you're still a nameless fish."
Was that a cutting pun because he slices?
Yes, it is.
Are we just gonna go ahead and just confirm that for ourselves?
Yeah, I'm not in on the camp that is writing Jujutsu Kaisen, but I think I have it on good authority that was a cutting pun because that's his whole thing.
Yeah. And at this point, I'm really hoping that was the case.
I'm sure it was. But yeah, they both get into their cool fighting poses. It's super cool. Megumi, not Megumi, Sukuna's like, "First I'll strip away your scales." And he says, "Well, why are you wearing that face then? You wanted me to hold back, right? Too bad for you. I've undergone special training, so I can totally wail on Megumi." So
That's hilarious.
yeah, because he looks kind of similar to Toji actually. So, you know, it kind of helps that he doesn't look dissimilar to his father that he had another death match with.
Yeah, very, very, very Akutami.
Yeah.
To give us that little, hey, by the way, I did a little something to not worry about. Like remember we had that was a worry in our minds, like, oh, you know, maybe that'll be a major role in a fight that he'll transform back to Megumi or something like that. And nope, man, we shouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, I never worried about that.
I appreciate it. I worried about it, but whatever.
Yeah, he said dying once. He said dying once as Yuji was a mistake. I'll worry about Megumi after I kill you. And then they just start getting into it, man. It's a lot of combat. Gojo's just basically throwing Sukuna around the city with his abilities. They just like fight all over. They just like are breaking buildings. Gojo is breaking bridges and shit, trying to beat up on Sukuna. She basically sends him flying directly into another building. Sukuna manages to drop that. He tries to use his dismantle technique, but it doesn't hit Gojo, but a building directly behind him. And as the building is falling and Gojo's focused on that, he gets closer and does this punch thing, which Gojo blocks, but there's still, I guess, cursed energy in... Oh, I think that's the infinity that he can't really reach Gojo's palm. But Gojo deactivates it and just holds Sukuna in place so they both, like, fall into the building. And now they're just, like... The building is, like, falling past them, but they're gliding basically through the hallway of this falling building, which is pretty fucking badass, to be honest.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And they're still fighting within this falling building. But yeah, the building finally crashes down and the two emerge from the rubble and they're like side by side. You know, they're not even worried about it. They're like, "I'm blaming you for all the damage." And Sukuna's like, like anyone will believe that. And I think Gojo's like, "Oh shit, May's broadcasting this. Everybody's gonna know that this is my fault," kind of, sort of. And that's where the chapter ends. I mean, this is a straight up action chapter. It's not a lot super story wise that goes on here, but still pretty crazy nonetheless. Josh, what did you think about Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 224?
So this chapter was cool. I think Gigi was trying to set a tone with these guys as far as letting us know, like, look, they're both complete powerhouses. They can level the city, you know, at will without much issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the fight itself wasn't super interesting to me. except for like a few, cool moments like them falling through the hallway and give him slicing up a building. It was cool. It's not like it was bad. Like I said, it wasn't interesting. Like I was thinking, I was gonna make a comment about how Gigi didn't want to be stood up by Horikoshi and his art, but this isn't, like I guess like with the fighting or like how expressive the pages are, because there's barely any talking. It's just pages of fighting, fighting, fighting. Similar to how My Hero Academia has been recently, but it's not like when Okoto was fighting against the chick that was bending the air and the guy with the cannon with the cannon hair.
Mm-hmm.
That was visually impressive. I remember how much we were commenting on it, so I'm kind of waiting for that still with this fight. But I'm sure we'll get there. I mean, this is on a break, so hopefully we'll get something really good when it comes back. But yeah, that's it. I don't really have too many thoughts that stand out aside from that. Brian, anything for you?
This is my RGC.
Hey, I guess I should mention too that this is the really good chapter of the week poll is a tie this week, but this is one of the series that tied it. So this is Brian's really good chapter of the week.
Certified RGC. Certified RGC.
So this is
Certified RGC.
So this is also tied with the audience.
Yes, it's tied with the audience. But
I
Brian,
don't know. You bring up a point that Horikoshi and Koshi's art is like pretty impressive and stuff. But I feel like they both excel in different areas when it comes to art.
Yeah.
I'd say Gege's fight sequences, action sequences are probably the best in Jump right now. The fluidity of the even though there is quite a lot of detail, Gege does sacrifice a lot of the detail for the motion and the impact on people on the fight styles and stuff like that. So like you'll see like a lot of explosive movement and a lot of interesting like poses and the way characters react and the way that they move. It's just all very fleshed out and developed, which makes these fights so interesting to read. It's like you're reading an anime when it comes to these fights, and Gege is, I think, the best in Jump right now when it comes to shonen battles in manga. My Hero Academia, for instance, is really good with setting the stage and having things like having like a good way to look at what's going on. Like Horikoshi is really good with detail and really amazing 2-page spreads and setting up a story through the art, right? Like you can read it without the words and understand what's happening sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference. So Horikoshi doesn't really dwell on like the minimal movements and stuff like that. It's more art, and meanwhile Jujutsu Kaisen is more motion. So and this chapter is a big example of that, and it's probably it at one of its best, because I really enjoy the way that he sets up these fights. The way that he goes about this stuff is so fucking incredible, because you could just see you have a good understanding of what's happening at all times. And this whole scene where they're like fighting in a falling building, that is such a sick fucking visual to have. And the way that he pulled it off was so interesting. And I think there's a little panel here, like in the falling building, where Gojo pulls off the door and they block each other's vision. I feel like we're gonna come back to what happened, what each of them did while they were inside this building.
Mm-hmm.
Because they made it a point to show that they were both out of each other's field of vision. in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not. They're gonna come back to that. I'm pretty sure in this fight. Now, as for Gojo's statement on Megumi, I think that's cap.
Mm.
I'm Gojo, don't get me wrong, he is ruthless and shit. But he has been shown before to like say he'll say things. He'll say things, but that doesn't mean he 100% means it, you know? Like I'm sure he still has an objective to try to save Megumi. Like I still like sure it would be like defying expectations if he went into this fight and literally just killed Sukuna even though Megumi was in there, but I think he said this just to get a more a mental advantage in this fight. Just to keep Sukuna like thinking like, oh shit, does he really not give a fuck about this kid? But I still think that he if the opportunity presents itself.
Brian, I think your mic cut out.
Yeah, it did for a sec. I still think if the opportunity presents itself, he will try to save Megumi over winning the fight. I think so.
I don't know if he will do it over winning the fight. I think Gojo understands this fight is way too important. But I do I wouldn't say that like Gojo wouldn't try to save Megumi, but I don't know. I feel like his priorities are more. This fight is probably more important at the moment. And if he could find a way to do both, then he will. But yeah, maybe they don't know something that we don't. You know, if he kills Sukuna while he's like the dominant force in Megumi's body, maybe Megumi is not necessarily dead. But I guess it depends. I don't know.
Yeah, and he hasn't used Chimera at Shadow Garden yet, so that'll be interesting when he starts using that against Gojo. Because apparently, that's supposed to be one of the ones that counter counter Gojo, right?
I don't know about
Isn't that a thing?
No. No, I don't think so.
Wasn't it that the person who last had the Shadow Garden and the last person who had the eyes, like Gojo's curse technique, they killed each other or something?
Oh, is that what it was? I don't remember that actually.
I'll double check on that while we cover it, but that's all my thoughts. Really, really great like action chapter. Probably the best in the business.
Yeah, I think what Akutami is really great at is like what we notice out of him more than any other manga artist is that he's very particular about choreography. Like his fights are a little more intricate, you know. Even in like hand-to-hand combat situations, you know, you see every kind of punch that's thrown, every kick. You don't necessarily see that with a lot of others, and you know that's not a bad thing at all. But I think that's what makes him stands out more than anything. It's very similar. Like I've been reading Sakamoto Days. I think I like caught up recently, and I feel like they share a similar vibe where it's very fluid and choreographed battles that are translated into pages, which is really hard to do. And Akutami is very good at. But yeah, I mean, I think you guys have said pretty much everything. There's not a ton to talk about, mostly because this is an action chapter, and it's whether it comes down to do you like this fight yet or not. And you know, I feel like Akutami is definitely pacing out this fight. This is like a long awaited battle. You know, it was like teased from the very beginning, kind of. So, I think he's taking his time with it and just like slowly setting up the pace and all that stuff. So this was a cool opening, but I'm excited to see where this goes next. We have 2 weeks to the next chapter, unfortunately. So
Yeah,
I'm
unfortunate indeed.
yeah, but I am excited to see what Akutami brings to this fight because I don't know how either of them could win, and it'll be very entertaining to see because Gojo is like a very OP character done correctly, and so is Sukuna. So I'm excited to see how they tackle this. But I don't have any other thoughts. Do you guys have any closing rebuttals or anything?
Yeah. On page 17, Brian brought up like I think he said like you wonder if they're gonna show like what actually happened. I think it's kind of implied that Gojo used the cover of that door to charge up a move, and I think that's what blew up the build the building, which it didn't harm Sukuna. I don't know if he just dodged it or it didn't hurt him that bad. He probably just dodged it. But I think that's what happened there.
Yeah.
But it blocked off Sukuna, so I think Sukuna might have done something tricky there too.
It looked like he was going for a swing, like while he put the door. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That's just
Gojo looks like he's using Gon's move.
Yeah, right.
The rock paper scissors punch thing.
Yeah, it looked really cool actually.
Yeah, it's such a cool pose.
That's what I think it is. It's like he's just charging up a bunch of cursed energy to hit him with, and
Yeah.
they just hit him with so much force.
Yeah, I mean the building was already falling, so it just like kind of probably just landed.
Real quick, I don't see anything about the Six Eyes and the Shadow Garden stuff, so we'll just pretend like that didn't happen.
I think I somewhat remember what you're talking about. I don't think it was like the Chimera Shadow Garden in general, but I think the Six Paths versus something else, they ended up killing each other. I forget what it was though, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
But in any case, I guess that was it. I guess that was Jujutsu Kaisen. Very, very cool chapter.
Bro, it's so funny how he's like, I'm blaming you for all the damage. Like, and then Sukuna responds with like, anyone will believe that. But it's kind of like Gojo saying like, oh, after I kill you, I'm gonna let them all know that it was your fault. Like,
Yeah,
it's funny
basically.
because Sukuna's like going along with it instead of just being like responding like, you're not gonna be able to tell them nothing because you'll be dead. I think he's maybe starting to think like, maybe I am gonna get a.
Maybe I mean, at least Sukuna understands that with Gojo specifically, he has the highest chance of killing him out of everybody. Whatever that means to Sukuna.
Output.
But yeah. But all right. Are we ready to move on then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Bloody Cross.
Chainsaw Man. This is Chainsaw Man chapter 130, Kill Building. Last we left off, Denji and Asa escaped hell, and they were able to, with the help of the fake Saw Man, and they were able to steal a guy's motorcycle and turn it into a fucking super metal chainsaw motorcycle. Very cool, very badass. And they're basically running through the city just trying to escape these weird tendril thingies from killing them. And we open up with a 2-page spread of them, doing just that. And he's like, whoa, that was so cool. I didn't know I could do that. And Asa mentions that, like, if we can outrun, the fake Saw Man said that if we could run those outrun those tentacles, we'll make it out of this. And he's like, you believe that guy? He's like, they saved us, didn't they? So, I guess there's no way they can't not trust him, I guess. But yeah, it's a lot
kind of in a tough situation.
Yeah, I mean, they got to take the good that they were given. And so they're basically dodging these tendrils left and right. This weird worm monster thing is sad. There's a whole page where it's like,
So okay, I was gonna wait until the end, but I'm gonna just talk about it now. So I was reading this shit, and when I seen that picture of because that attack looked crazy when he summoned all the noodles in the sky, and he's like, "Oh crap!" I think that was like one of his special moves or something. So when they show him just blank there with his arms out, and then you see him drawing it closer to his face, I thought that was him like stuck like, what?
Come on.
What? Oh my God. And like as he's saying that, he's putting his hands to his face like, oh my God, like how? But obviously he was charging up his move.
Yeah,
because
one of the immediately after, one of the tentacles turns into him, and it just starts. It turns its hand into a hammer. What kind of devil is this? I mean, Denji also asked this, but he's like, what kind of devil even is that thing? So they don't really know that. And as they're riding, they look ahead of them, and the falling devil has caused a building to collapse uh, directly in their path in a big 2-page spread, and it just falls. And Denji basically rides straight through it with his chainsaw motorcycle, comes out like a ramp, and it flies up. But then the chapter ends with another 2-page spread where, although they escape the building, they've ramped all the way up to the belly of this weird tentacle monster thing. And that's where the chapter ends. Crazy chapter. Josh, what did you think about Chainsaw Man chapter 130?
This was insane. Like I said, my favorite part was the monster looking like it was stressed out. But man, this was similar to Jujutsu Kaisen. There's a ton of action. I actually like this chapter a little bit more. But I don't have any other good reasons other than I just like the characters and the circumstances more. For this chapter, damn. I like this. We don't even know the name of this devil, but it was slightly more interesting than Gojo and Sukuna this week. That's the power that this author has. This is a once in a generation talent right here.
I agree.
And we're getting chainsaw bike riding into Big Mad. You know what's gonna happen, right? He's gonna go inside the monster's mouth and tear it to shreds with the motorcycle and his
and we'll love it. We'll love it every time.
This thing has no idea what it's welcoming into its body. Brian, any thoughts?
This was a fun chapter, a fun action chapter. Lots of action chapters this week.
Yeah, I mean this week is mostly action chapters.
Yeah, it's been a theme.
Which is a much needed break from like all the philosophical talk we have every week about manga. So it's nice to be able to like turn our brains off and admire art for a bit. And this chapter fucking delivers. like Genji riding on a wall, getting chased around the city while fucking getting attacked by this weird looking dude. I'll say this about Chainsaw Man: all the devils are so fucking unsettling.
Yeah, they're all
like
gross.
this fucking thing. What is it? I don't even know what. Like, is it a point that we don't know what kind of devil it is?
No, yeah. Denji asks what it is, and we don't know what it is.
What do you guys think it is? What devil you think that is?
I don't know, man. Gluttony?
Yeah. Noodles, ramen monster.
The ramen monster.
The ramen devil.
But yeah, like this was a fun chapter. It's nice to see Denji and Asa kind of working together.
Mochi monster, mochi devil.
Not much else to say about it. Fun chapter.
Yeah. This was crazy. I agree. I think this is one of the best drawn chapters of Chainsaw Man in a while, or probably ever. Everything like these. I know, and he's like usually he's such a great artist, but this is insane. The amount of like building action, like everything about this chapter was just so well drawn and so cool, and so what you expect a series called Chainsaw Man to be. And this is when you say like I'm reading Chainsaw Man, this is what people expect, but there's also, you almost forget that there's like these deep philosophical elements to Chainsaw Man when you see this. One of the things this reminded me of, I don't remember if in the earlier on in the series, when Chainsaw Man was riding Beam into that weird baby tornado thing. Do you remember that, Josh?
Yes.
The shark thing where he was basically riding a shark.
Yeah,
of course, yeah. When he had the chains around the shark to
we miss Beam,
kind of like straddle him.
Yeah, rip Beam first of all, but yeah, this was very reminiscent of that. I don't know what this devil is. I think it's the gluttony devil, hunger devil, maybe something like that. Famine. Maybe no, this is not famine. Famine already exists.
Tentacle devil, probably.
No what?
Tentacle devil.
Maybe a tentacle devil. But yeah, it's such a wild, fun chapter to read. I actually like opened this up a bunch of times just to look at like the art, because the backgrounds in this specifically are so detailed and crazy. This takes a lot of work.
Did you see it in your nightmares?
Yeah. This takes a lot of work. I mean, I draw, like a filthy casual. So I can imagine the amount of work it takes to draw buildings this detailed. And yeah, I was just really impressed by how much work he put into this. This is really cool. No wonder, I guess this is why he took 2 weeks off so he could finish this. But yeah, I mean, it feels like weird to not have that many thoughts about the chapter so far, but hey, they're giving us a lot of cool artwork content, like Brian mentioned, so I am not complaining at all. Do we have any final rebuttals? Anything to add?
Nopers.
No, all right.
Nope.
Well, with that being said, let's move on.
He said, "Is this ice, dickhead? Is it cold?"
Black Clover. This is Black Clover chapter 360, Unreadable World. Last we left off, the Silva siblings were getting their asses handed to them by their own mom, who is now a paladin on the side of Julius, or not Julius, what's his face? Damn. Lucius. And apparently this dragon thing that Noelle tapped into that we just saw was not an ass pull after all. Apparently it was hinted on way earlier in the series. Honestly, I've been reading Black Clover again just so I can stop missing these little moments. But Noelle was able to pair herself with this sea dragon magical spirit and is now taking on her mom herself. So that's pretty cool. And we open with that. After we get their opening salvo battle thing, we cut back to Yuno versus Lucius. And, Lucius is being all cocky, like, the ability he gains from the star magic and wind magic is letting him keep pace with my speed and predictions. But, it's over now as he blocks his attack and sends him flying. And he attempts to take over Yuno's soul. But then Yuno uses his wind spirit creation magic to create this big cool shield called the Spirit of Notos. And it's a shield of strong wind that rebuffs incoming attacks. And with that, he was able to speed up and actually cut Lucius. And Lucius is like, "What? That can't be right. The Yuno who grew up in the Clover Kingdom shouldn't have this kind of power. In my prediction, the world in which Yuno was the strongest was the one he steadily acquired power in the Spade Kingdom, which never had a rebellion. However, this Yuno is stronger than that, and he's reached that level in a bit over a year. No, he's even stronger." And then he realizes that, like, that goes for the others as well. There's no future where Noelle has ever grown this strong, or that Leona wouldn't have been killed instantly by Morris. And Fuego Leon should have been dead. He's not even supposed to be here right now. So basically, Lucius is just realizing that, like, what the hell's going on here? What's different between my predictions and the reality? And then he realizes one thing, that he's like, this, he was always the one to strike the last blow. He did it when we fought Lucifero too. And he's like, that's why I keep conquering the me who wasn't good enough. Is this world has a future that can't be read. And he realizes that the reason that everybody is different is because this is the world that Asta influenced. And the chapter ends with Yuno giving him a big slash across the chest as he yells, "No matter whom I'm up against, I'll take them down." And that's where the chapter ends. Josh, what did you think about Black Clover chapter 360?
This was my RGC.
Oh yeah.
Certified RGC. Certified RGC. Certified RGC.
So, admittedly, a lot of this is off of potential, but let me explain. So, I thought it was really interesting how we got this realization from Lucius at this point of the of the the struggle or whatever. Usually this is something I feel like you see towards the end of the fight where like they win because he realizes this is what it was because Asta changed everything and then he gets cut, slashed and the evil spirit gets out of Lucius and the day is saved. He's realizing that shit right now.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, it's making me think like, is he going to account for this now? Is he going to move a little bit differently, and not so preordained? That I'm really curious to see how Lucius changes his approach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you guys think as far as that goes? Like, don't you think that's something they usually end the fight with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is necessarily. I feel like this is a good place to have it because then he can adjust, and I guess obviously he's not gonna die to I mean that would be surprising, if he
Right,
did.
obviously.
So
That's not the point, yeah.
I feel like now that he realizes this, he'll be able to account for it even more. I think he's just realizing that this is just a miscalculation in his overall plan, that he underestimated Asta's influence on this world. So, I think now that he knows it, he can probably, maneuver around a better plan for it.
Mhm. Yeah. So that I think I think that's going to change the course of this fight.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it, like seeing how they're all like starting to make their comeback. I like it. I like the direction that they change. I feel like the formula is being changed, or our expectations are going to be subverted,
Mm-hmm.
and that's different. It's different for Black Clover, Whenever it happens, it's spectacular. Like with Magna and with the Yami and Asta fight, a bunch of different times. So yeah, I'm really excited. Those are all the thoughts I have for this chapter.
Yeah.
What about you, Brian?
I thought it was interesting that Asta is really just an impossibility in this world. Like again, they just keep hammering it in, but this time it's a little bit different where it's like it's kind of similar to Doctor Strange's thing where he went into like 14 million different possibilities and this is the one reality where Asta is prevalent in the world. So it's a fun little chapter of like, even with Asta not there, he still has an impact on the Clover Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so sick that is still in this fight. Like I keep forgetting that Black Clover actually respects like its alternate protagonists, like it respects it respects Yami. Like it'll give them the moments that they deserve, and that's not something that many mangaka do. Like a lot of these characters are just fodder for the main character to come in and save the day, but um everybody here is a threat. Well, almost everybody. But like characters aren't just gonna sit back and like wait for Asta. Like Yuno is going to come in and do his thing and try to win it himself. Whether he does, I don't think so, but he at least has an extreme amount of impact on the world when he fights. And I really appreciate that from this, even though this is one of the most stereotypical manga. It's pretty progressive in the ways that it handles its side characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this is the kind of stuff that we wanted, Kishimoto to keep up with throughout all of Naruto. It is something that we wanted My Hero to keep up with, and Black Clover is the one that actually succeeded in this, which I find very interesting. So, those are all my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with you. And
Me too.
as I've been going back and rereading Black Clover, it is interesting to see it is really all about, like, in this world, they didn't really have a respect for people who didn't have magic and stuff like that. And that really, like, a lot of people coasted on the strength of their magic. And Asta didn't really have anything, but, everybody saw how hard he was working just to be on their level, in ways that only he can do. And I think, like, that determination is obviously something that we've seen repeated over and over as a strong influence on the world around him. Like, Asta's inspired pretty much every character in this story, at least one time. And I think it's good to see the fruit of that inspiration be more than just, like, waiting for him to come in and save the day, and more for, like, letting that inspiration fuel their own desires and their own fighting and, their own wills and all that stuff. So I think that's a unique thing about this series that I agree with Brian, doesn't really show up a whole lot. I think, like, a lot of people in a lot of series have a strong belief in that one person to just kind of carry everything, but Asta teaches people that they can carry it on their own, no matter how difficult things are getting. So if you think about, like, how Lucius predicted Yuno's strongest timeline being the that never really had to go with anything, or never had to really struggle with anything. That was the strongest version of Yuno in his eyes. In this universe where there is an Asta to be a block in his road and have something to overcome is one that surpasses the one that didn't really have to do anything. So, I really like that impact kind of drawn out, by everybody, because he has that same effect on Noel and Mario Leona and all these people he's had direct contact with. So I respect that about Black Clover. And honestly, this was a very close second for me in terms of the really good chapter of the week as well. The cool factor for Chainsaw Man kind of won me over. But I read this and I was like, this is pretty awesome. I really liked just
Wait, I thought you said Chainsaw was your favorite, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I really loved that line is that this is the world that Asta influenced is really cool.
Yeah. I thought that was dope.
Yeah. But
and like getting it out the way.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all. Those were really all my thoughts about Black Clover. I thought it was fucking awesome. And I look forward to continuing to reread the series. I'm like on the 7th chapter right now, and I'm casually, whenever I have free time, I'll throw it on. But it is cool to see it with fresh eyes. Are there any rebuttals? Anything else?
Nope.
Josh?
Nope.
Alrighty then. Well, with that being said, let's move onward. Undead Unluck. This is Undead Unluck, chapter 160. Welcome to Earth. Last we left off, the Union has gone on to space to save Phil, and bring him back down to Earth. He is trying to save his mom from the space station that they lived in, and how they were being attacked by these weird alien creatures. Phil eventually sacrifices himself, or attempts to just jump into the queen's belly and inside of the queen's belly, he finds this weird exoskeleton thing uh, that has just been sitting there, and he enters it because his a bit the this exoskeleton is conveniently powered by someone's emotions. So you know, if you it takes all the emotions that you have and outputs them into power. And since Phil is the unfeel negation, he can kind of bypass that and use the abilities as he sees fit. And he uses this ability to now break out of the queen's belly, and he continues to, you know, fight on while I guess this queen thing is fighting Phil. Unfortunately, things don't go as planned because the queen, as they're trying to escape in the space pod thing, the queen latches onto the ship, and Phil is left to try to figure out how to get it off. Um, Phil, he can't really attract this thing because Phil has unfeel, and these things kind of like react to feelings. Um, but Phil uses that opportunity to land a massive sneak attack on it. He turns his arm into scissors and straight up cuts the queen monster directly off of it. And basically they enter fucking Earth's atmosphere at at this moment. Phil, I guess, following along. Um, so they're starting to fall in, and they realize that something is latched onto their ship and is preventing the parachutes from coming out of the shuttle that would cause them to crash land, obviously. So it turns out that the queen aliens' eggs are on this shuttle, and they can't really control their trajectory at this point. Uh, so they don't know what they're gonna do. Um, Phil goes outside and flies upward to kind of to change the trajectory on his own, but it's probably not going to be enough on its own. He's already starting to crack underneath the sheer weight of the ship, um, and at this point, we get this little flashback where he's like he's talking to his mom about how once the research is over, they'll go back to Earth, and his mom's like, "Yeah, even if someone tries to stop them, then maybe." Even if someone tries to stop us, we'll go back to Earth. And he's like, then maybe I can make some friends who could play Ayatori. And he's like, you can and you will. Um, so, and at that point, as she's saying that she'll have no doubt that she'll make friends, that Phil will make friends, Phil's friends come out to destroy the alien eggs that are latched onto the ship. They notice that Phil's body is breaking apart. So Gina basically rips off the gloves on her ship and touches Phil so that, using her unchange ability, it makes his body unable to crumble, which is pretty cool. And so basically it's like, now you can use your full strength, Phil, go pedal to the metal and all that stuff. And now with Gina's unchange preventing him from breaking, Phil is able to change the trajectory of the shuttle, and everybody is able to land safely on Earth. And we end in a big 2-page spread of Gina pulling themselves out of water. And there's a big rainbow in the sky, and she says, "Welcome to Earth." And yeah, everybody's happy. Triumph, victory for the heroes. And that's where this chapter ends. Josh, what did you think about Undead Unluck chapter 160?
This was a roller coaster of a chapter. In a cool way. It was this as much dialogue. This had a ton of dialogue in it, but it was still like fast paced in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
In reading it, but man, this nigga Phil is basically Iron Man at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's a pretty extraordinary. But I had a point I wanted to make real quick, because remember when you brought up the artifact being conveniently powered by emotions?
Yeah.
So I guess there's an argument that can be made that because the artifacts are made from like the lunar god, he probably creates these artifacts with the intent of certain people or negators, you know, to come across them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it happened in the previous loop, so I think that's plausible.
Yeah, that's true. No, it makes sense.
So
I guess.
yeah, it's something I thought about.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, I guess like yeah, you could say that.
No, for sure.
It's not super. I mean, it's really convenient that it was inside the monster, but whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't really like hammering down on the point. I was like, it is convenient, but you know, that's all I really wanted. It was more like an
Yeah, it
offhand.
was just something I thought about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think you was weighed down too much.
No,
by,
not at all.
by the randomness of it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they're finally out of space and that they had this super powerful robot that they was able to. They saved the mom and they saved Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, like Fugo's been on a roll.
Yeah.
What's next?
She's been crushing it.
They're gonna probably capture that rainbow. They're gonna catch a leprechaun at the end of the rainbow.
The UMA
as well.
known as Rainbow.
Yeah, UMA leprechaun. Yeah, UMA rainbow, and there's gonna be a leprechaun with a gold
Yeah.
basket of gold. You're like, I can't do the Irish accent, but
Neither
he
can I.
probably has a sneer like that. And they're gonna catch his ass because not because they have cool abnormal abilities. It's because Fuko's their leader.
Yes.
Secondary is the superhuman abilities.
Agreed.
Chris Espinal.
Gina must be one of the most clutch characters in all of manga. She is
Absolutely in this series, in all of manga.
She is
She's in the top
MVP.
50 somewhere.
She is MVP of this series. Because like
Yeah.
every adventure she's involved in, she played critical roles in saving their lives. And yeah, it is kind of crazy having her back and being so useful. It's like, damn, they shouldn't have killed her to begin with. Why'd they have to kill her? Oh, I guess there's only like a certain amount of seats at the table. But anyway,
Yeah.
still my point stands. Gina is super clutch, and I love the creativity, the multiple ways that she's used her abilities to save the day is really cool. I really like that. I thought all of the challenges that they faced trying to get back home was very interesting and really like genuinely like how are they gonna get out of this one. So you know, overall, pretty smartly written chapter. I had a good time reading it overall. I'm glad it's a happy ending now. I wonder who they're gonna save next. Who they have to go after. Because I don't remember if they had a plan for after they save Phil, but
No, I don't think so.
yeah,
We just knew they was going to space, so who knows?
yeah,
Maybe Andy.
maybe Andy finally. They still gotta get Shen. They'll probably get Shen next. Unless they know Shen.
Yeah, you're right.
They do know Shen already, so maybe not. All they have to do is pick him up, really.
Yeah, but there's got to be a situation.
Yeah, there's got to be an arc. And maybe the unburned guy. I'm trying to think of characters we haven't spent a lot of time with yet. And maybe those are the ones that we're going after.
Unburned. Wasn't he a bad guy?
Yeah, well, he was on Billy's team, which wasn't necessarily a bad guy, but
Was there an unbelievable?
I think so.
You don't sound very confident.
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I thought it was Billy, but his is unfair, so.
Unfair.
How is there not an unbelievable?
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, give it time, Brian.
You think at the end there's going to be an unbelievable?
Maybe.
Yeah, I actually do think so.
Let me see. Undead Unluck.
Maybe at the end of that rainbow.
The unbelievable is a leprechaun.
Yeah.
There was an unbelievable.
Really?
It was Billy. In the first loop, he was unbelievable. And in the second loop, he's unfair.
Interesting.
Are you sure?
Okay, so unbelievable. Thought to be his original negator ability, it allows him to ricochet bullets into targets so long as he aims them away from them.
Oh, so he took that from somebody else
Probably, yeah.
because he had a copy ability.
Yeah,
Because that was his negate ability to copy. So that person hates him.
probably.
And that is,
Okay, so look, he made everybody believe that his negation was unbelievable, but really he was just nice with a gun. He was just a really good marksman. He didn't. That's all it was.
He was just nice. He was nice with the.
He was just
blicky.
nice. That's what the wiki says.
Yeah,
impressive.
that's unbelievable. All right.
That is.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I'm dressed to the nines, I'm still packing heat, and I'm gonna pull out my weapon.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess that's it. That's all I got to say about Undead. Fun series overall, fun chapter. Any rebuttals before we go, Josh?
Any questions for Mike?
We actually have one question. Now that thank you for reminding me, honestly. Yeah, let me pull it up because last time he had 3 questions. We answered 2 out of the 3 last time. So we got a little time here, and he asks, do you enjoy the current manga reading experience on the Viz website, or do you wish there was some physical alternative you could read, and why?
So is he's saying that like if we like reading on the Viz on Viz?
Yeah, or would you rather have like a physical alternative?
So off the bat, I'm gonna assume when he says physical alternative, he's saying like a book,
Yeah, like a physical
Because-
magazine.
right? As opposed to digital, because
Mhm.
the phone is physical too.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
I
I
know,
just wanted to clarify that.
I'd say I prefer digital just because there are a lot of mangaka who do a lot of 2-page spreads, and 2-page spreads really fucking suck in book form.
That's actually very true.
Like My Hero Academia probably is superior digitally because of how many like 2-page spreads Horikoshi likes to use. So I'd say at the moment I like digital a lot more. It's just like an easier reading experience for me. But digital is like highly restricted to what you can read and separated from all over the place. So it's like you can get your own physical collection and you could have everything you want to read like in person, but I feel like you know I wish it was easier to reach like certain series. Like Shonen Jump is like a rare exception when it comes to like manga that's easily and official to reach like in America. But then you have series like Hajime no Ippo and others that it's like you have no clue how to read that legally in America, you know? Like they don't really have an official release over here. At least not that I know of. So, digital has its downsides, but I think that it's right at the moment like the best way to take in manga.
I would have to agree with that, man, by a long shot. But this is something I thought about, man, because obviously digital superior because you can access so much more of it quicker without having to take up physical space, like a bookshelf or having to travel to a library or something like that. So the convenience of it is incredible. But there's something about having a book. And the thing is when you're using a phone, for me, there's a lot of distractions still. So it's hard. I feel like it's harder to get wrapped up in a session to read as opposed to like when I had the books. Like I remember Chris was giving me he's given me a bunch of different like series over the years, but with I remember what was it, Haikyuu that you had the books for, Chris? That was
Yeah,
one
I
of
mean,
them,
I
right?
have them.
And
I think I gave you Aisho.
No, I read no, yeah, you gave me Aisho. I read Haikyuu on that. But anyway, yeah, it was so I just remember like going like being stuck to the book. And then it reminded me how I used to read, regular books. Wow, I sound terrible. I haven't read an actual book in a while. I've read parts. I haven't read a full book in a long time.
Trust me.
I'll say that.
Same.
So, admittedly, it brought me back to thinking about how like the book allows you to focus into that world, and it removes like distractions. So it has its place. I don't want to say digital is superior, and then say that books should just not be the case anymore. It still has its place. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I love the digital experience though. I wish the app was a little bit less clunkier though. Sometimes the app itself is it's really clunky when you try to go through the pages sometimes, and it's really laggy
Mm-hmm.
at others. I don't know. I just feel like it's 2023. So
Yeah.
get it together.
Get it together, Viz. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously like pros and cons. I personally, I do prefer physical. I have like a bunch of series. I've been building a collection for the last few years of as much as I could in my small apartment. But there's like obvious downsides and upsides to both. Obviously, we do this show based off of the digital releases because that's how they're doing it. I remember when I was younger, and Josh knows this because we would go sometimes, but we would go to like Forbidden Planet, and that was when they still had like the physical Shonen Jump here, and I would collect those back in the day until they stopped. I think like in 2012 is when they really started doing the digital stuff, and I was in college. No, I wasn't in college.
Yeah.
Was I in college then? I was in college then, yeah.
That was right when that was right when it started. Like right when we started college, they started transitioning to digital.
Which I'm sure is like a good cost saving thing because it's got to cost a lot to print stuff. So I feel like manga. These guys were very smart to know that everybody got into manga because of digital media, like scanlators and stuff like that. And I think it was smart of them to kind of embrace that, and going further. I don't know how. It probably would have, but I don't know if manga. I would posit to say I don't know if manga would be in the exact same place of popularity it is now if it wasn't more accessible through digital.
Let's not forget, most of the series we was reading was on scan sites.
Oh yeah.
So that was really the beginning of digital. They had to kind of
they had to do it.
That digital was going to be the way because we was all consuming it.
Yeah.
That way, for the majority of the series we read that weren't in Shonen Jump.
Yeah. It's not cool to pirate things, but also this whole industry is built on pirating.
We talk about the past. But yeah, we talk the facts. That was the case. That's what happened. So, and thankfully they smartened up, and I've been mostly using the app for years now.
Yeah, I mostly use the app too. For series that I can't have here. Because I don't have storage issues is a big deal. But I try to. I that causes me to pick my battles into which series I'll collect. But another thing is that all these series were drawn on paper for the most part. Like manga and anime also is one of the only things that is not one of the only art forms that isn't really produced digitally all that much. Because it's crazy to think about when you think about One Punch Man. Yusuke Murata draws all of that on paper for the most part. He probably like adds in digital effects outside, but like the inking, all that stuff is still done traditionally. One Piece is still done traditionally, except for like color pages. I think he does those digitally. But yeah, this is like the kind of medium that they drew it on, so it looks better on paper, and I do prefer a physical medium, but digital is pretty damn good, to be honest. It is good for the 2-page spread. Brian is absolutely right about that. I am learning.
I remember so
I didn't
many
even
times.
consider that.
I remember so many times when I was reading manga and then there was a 2-page spread and it was just a fucking black hole down the middle, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll never know what this really looks like.
Yeah, no, it's perfect for like 2-page. You could see the whole picture, and it's tough for One Piece too because One Piece does that a lot too. where they do 2-page spread, and he does like a bunch of panels in them that are kind of distorted because of the way the fold is. But even so, I'm still like, I love a physical book in my hand.
You know, you get used to it. You take it.
Yeah, you
It
know,
makes you
take the good with the bad.
appreciate the other form.
Also, I read like a lot of manga on the train. If I'm like going somewhere, that's how I usually do the most of my manga consumption is like I'm on the train and I'm reading, and I don't really feel like having my phone out.
Mhm.
But yeah, there you go. I hope that answers your question.
I think comics are infinitely cooler than digital. Like American comics, there's something about having that shit.
I'll agree
Like
with
the
that.
pages are gorgeous, man.
Mhm.
Oh man,
American
it's not a fair comparison. I'm not trying to compare it. I'm just saying that
American
with all the
comics do
color.
have like a pretty like I don't know. Josh is right. There's something about American comics like physically that contain a lot more like I don't know what the word is, but just it's fun. It's like more fun to read somehow. Like the pages are all they feel nicer, I'd say.
Yeah, no, they definitely
Because
have
manga is
better.
all
Hard to
paper, and then
describe.
theirs is a little more like like strong, like it's stronger
Yeah, it's
material.
on
I
the
guess.
gloss paper.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's easier to turn, and they're all colored. So
You could color in the pages of a manga though if you wanted to.
If you really wanted to.
Kinda.
I think we've done that before.
It's not like they're coloring books, but you could color the outsides and stuff.
Mhm.
I think me and Chris have done that before, actually.
I've never done that. I don't know what you.
Oh, I've probably done it. I probably ruined a few of your books.
Oh, you.
You
bastard.
drew Goku
Probably.
next to stuff.
I had a few
next to
Dragon Ball Z
Naruto.
books that Brian had access to. Oh man, but that was a good talk. I enjoyed that. Physical media, for the win. I don't know.
Yeah, cool question. Yeah, of course. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it, right? No rebuttals, no nothing.
Nopers.
Well, there you go. That has been our show. Thank you guys so much for listening as per usual. Sorry for the short show today. It was a lot of action chapters. So, we tried to do the best we can and have a deep conversation about everything. I think we did a good job.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. So anyway, you can find me at the Chris Aspinall on Twitter and Instagram, Josh at jdcole_37 on Instagram, at New Jump City Josh on Twitter. Brian is at b.esp on Twitter and Instagram, and he streams video games sometimes that we also have to watch before the show. So yeah, check out his stream at twitch.tv/its punchline. You can follow the show itself at New Gem City on Twitter and Instagram, and TikTok as well. Email us at newgemcitypod@gmail.com with any questions, suggestions, anything you guys want us to talk about. We're all caught up in questions, so you guys can just drop some more our way. And let us know what you guys think about the show, whatever you want. You can email us that way, or you can drop your questions in the comment section of any video that you end up watching on our YouTube channel. And while you're at it, like, subscribe, and share the podcast. That would be super nice. If you prefer audio podcasts, of course, we're pretty much on everywhere you're listening to podcasts right now. Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, name a platform. We're on it. And yeah, that's it. That's our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. And stay safe, New Jump citizens.
Peace.